So some topics demos.
Yeah.
Yes. Sipke. One or two.
I would also have a small one.
That's what she said.
No, that doesn't grow. It's always
I waited for this.
Zoltan, Sipke, good. One else? Okay, demo status, and I will talk about these things while I'm doing the status. So if let me pull the latest first, because Sipke is very active. You see? Boom.
Yeah.
7 days, so much work done. Tenant reset, we saw that last week. What is that? Oh yeah, the pull request from Sergio, refactoring, well, supporting the underscore and dash in the shape alternates. Clean up migration, okay. The recipes, okay. Incremental refactoring of import export recipe. This is a different branch. We'll see Sipke's demo, I assume. There's a branch called admin-bootstrap, so work in progress with the admin-bootstrap theme. Interesting. Thank you, Jasmin. Fixed broken view. This might be a special branch, so I won't talk about it. Correct me if I'm wrong, Daniel and Sipke, but I think it's your recipe work, so we'll merge all these commits into a big demo. Tenant service, fix XML documentation, okay. Fix failing unit test, merge branch dev, merging reset site extension and with upload recipe action, same thing, the branch, blah blah blah. Lombiq, fixing exception in layout when driver was inherited from a custom-based driver. Layouts. Content on display for layout, okay. That's exception, fine. This is the branch, fine, merge, again, wow, that's a huge module. So this is upgrading so this is something we have in the startup. In case the startup takes too long to execute, the web request could fail, so we have increased the time the time to stop the request, and they did the same thing during the import export. See, and Sipke likes to change all the comments.
Yeah, why didn't I do it there?
I saw that. Okay, then the main branch, queries index page missing title. So this was a pull request that we merged. Okay, the old branch, other branch, correcting indentation in the file, which was fine. Pull request again here from the same guy. Removing the word template here.
Yeah, it made sense. I mean, look at it. It would be original template.
Okay. You must have pulled this one. Okay.
I did both of them. Yeah.
So this is a merge of the merge. This is a change from Daniel. I saw that, I didn't understand, but there is a unit test, so this is good change.
It was it was something that Jean-Thierry reported in an issue, and it has to do with the fact that this method, it returns the correct date, but it returns the wrong kind of date. So it returns a local, but it should return a UTC.
Then I open my computer, adding Kudu deployment hooks. So you remember last week we talked about this article on how to support Kudu, which is the Git integration inside Azure websites. So you just push your change and it will be deployed automatically in Azure websites. And the article was giving a solution, but it was a bad solution, changing the CS proj and hacking things around. So I implemented the correct way to do that, and it works. It's pretty useful. So it's directly in 19x. So I won't do a demo. I will just explain how it works. I will use this thing. So if you look, it's just in the 19x one so far. I haven't merged it in dev, I think. So now there is a new file called .deployment, which is used by Kudu. This file contains just, when you have to set up Orchard, when you download Orchard from the source code, you need to run this script to deploy. And this guy is just to prevent Kudu from timing out when there is no log. And otherwise we'll think that the build doesn't work. And the deploy.cmd is here, and it's just doing some Kudu magic to define the environment variable that it needs, and in the end it calls our MS build script targeting the precompiled target and saying don't output any log or with minimal log. And this is important because otherwise Kudu will write 1,000 or 10,000 times a file of 2 megabytes, which makes it slow. So here it's downloading the full source code and using the precompiled target, which then is optimized on your website. So that works very well. And to use it, actually at the same time, Zoltan is here, so that's good. I'm sure you saw this change, which actually I did on the dev branch. Okay. So I added a deploy to Azure button and a link to .NET to set up an Orchard website. If you want to change it, Zoltan, please change it if there is a button like the deploy to Azure. If you use the deploy to Azure one.
Well, thanks, Sébastien. Didn't know about that.
Well, I added the Azure, so I was like, why wouldn't I add the other ones? So I will sign the portal. Okay. And nothing happens. Good. So when you click on deploy to Azure, you will have less verification than me. And then it opens the Orchard marketplace item. So you can directly create it using a free account or whatever. And so this is using the package, but nothing interesting here. What we have. Yeah, so just to explain the Kudu thing, when you set up your Azure website, you just set up the deployment properties. You can point to a Git repository. So you could even point directly to the Orchard Git repository, GitHub repository. You could also fork the Orchard repository and point to your own repository and do the changes. And whenever you do a change and you push it on whatever branch you want, if you have set up this branch with Kudu, then it will grab all the source code, compile everything using the precompiled and in a temp folder, and then only update the files which have changed during the compilation, which means all your settings. Oh, and it will also delete all the files which are no more in the precompiled output. So let's say you delete a file from your solution. During the compilation, the file won't be there anymore. It will find that the file is no more there after compilation and remove it from your website, which is fine. But if you have dynamically or runtime generated content like the app data, the settings.txt or media, then it will know that it has been generated at runtime and it won't delete it. So that works perfectly. You can just push new commits on your website and it will get deployed automatically. So now it's supported out of the box. So this is this change here. I also optimize the precompiled target.
Do you have to do anything special in your website in the Azure portal to get this to work? An extension or something?
So, because you ask, I will show you.
Yes, please.
Back to the portal. And it's very useful if you develop with Orchard and using Git, GitHub, Bitbucket, whatever you want, even Dropbox. If you have your Orchard on Dropbox, you just update the Dropbox Orchard and it will get deployed automatically. So you create a new website. Sorry, web app here. It's slow because it's a preview internal build of the portal. Show up at some point.
Could I also have a smart card to log into Azure?
You could, but it's a requirement for Microsoft internal.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have access to Azure services, and if we get hacked, so it's more security. Okay, so okay, I will try again. The browser doesn't like it. I saw something and I think I know why. Okay, let's disable this thing. How do I disable that?
What's that?
How do I disable it? Crap. That's weird. Oh, it's there now. Okay. Just slow. So create a website. I will use create new. Kudu pricing can work also with the free tier. Sorry, what is a free tier? Maybe yes, it should work with the free tier. Not sure actually. Let's see. Resource group. Subscription. Version 2. Location, West US. Create. Should have a standard just to show you how it works. So it's creating. Should not take long.
You mentioned that it won't delete stuff that's been created runtime. What about
Yes.
files that might have been changed runtime?
They will. I don't know. I think it will be overwritten. An example?
I don't know, if you have settings.txt part of your deployment for some reason or something like that.
If you take from the source code, you will not have it from your GitHub repository.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I will not suggest you to do that.
No, that's true. Yeah. If you.
So here the website is completely empty, and deployment. This is this lens. So you click there, you see setup continuous deployment. Choose source. Here you can say from all resources. The local Git is one with the website, so you could push directly to the local Git. That will work too. You could fork Orchard and push the code to this repository. It will be another remote, or you can connect directly to GitHub. Dropbox, GitHub, Bitbucket. So here I will connect to GitHub, and I will point to the official repo. So choose source GitHub authorization. Sébastien already knows me. The organization will be Orchard. Project will be Orchard, and the branch I will use 19x, which is the one which has the support so far. Okay, and then because it's the first deployment configuration, it will take the tip of the branch, and okay, done, and it will start the build to build it. So no deployment. I click, and you will see it will find it automatically. I can force the sync. Yes, so it gets the tip of the deployment, and it will start. Sure, it will start. I think I made a mistake by choosing the free, but you see, receiving changes. So it's downloading the Git repository, and when it's downloaded, then it will start the deployment. So I will let it run, and we'll see later. It takes 20 minutes on a standard machine, which is a small one, on a small standard. 20 minutes to build. So this is the change, going back to the GitHub repo. Sipke, other recipes, changes, spelling mistake, Sipke on the recipes, Lombiq, the reference exception. We looked at it on Thursday.
No, that was another change in the same place. I just extended it with another null check. Yeah.
Do optimizing precompiled. I thought I had. Oh no! Forget. That's a local branch I had done. And I squashed everything, so you can see the full history of the changes. So you don't care. Adding test links in the README. Yes, these are the links to test Orchard directly. Adding support for update string length. Yes, this is a pull request from Jean-Thierry. Then this is an incomplete change from Lombiq. So this guy will be executed automatically and will fail, I assume. So he added the dependency on this feature. Same thing here, but this feature is not defined in the module.txt. We'll see it later. So fix
What?
Yes, there is nowhere this feature. I don't know where you got it from. I know where you got it from another class which was using this, but the guy from Netherlands driving a Tesla who created this feature didn't actually create the feature. It's just a string. You will see. You will see.
Because I created the feature, but that should be there. Maybe I pushed into the wrong branch.
Maybe. We'll see. So web pages reference missing. Okay, Daniel. So this is a change I had done right before we pushed 191, which is removing the dependency to the users module from forms authentication. So you see it's removing the opposite. It's removing the content manager dependency, but using the iMembership service instead from the forms authentication, which is what is necessary to do. It didn't work for me because the setup was looking for some kind of implementation, so we need a default implementation, a null default implementation, which he made, overriding the null membership implementation. And also changing the user ID to use usernames, and the base64 method that I had added to the extensions for this purpose. So that's good. And I can't say if it works on the CI because the CI is broken, and we'll talk about it later. But it works on my machine at least, so that's good. Sipke will maybe do a demo of that too, or maybe just that, working on support for tabs.
Yeah, I have 2 demos. One is recipes, and this would be the second one.
So I will hurry up. Wrong dependency for Azure, another pull request for the things we saw. This is a merge to dev, tab support, recipe work. Then another big change from Sipke about refactoring how the home page is supported. We'll talk about it if you want to see if there is an issue. Maybe we should talk about it with Zoltan.
Yeah, that will be the third topic.
So maybe there is a fourth one now. Restoring build log level. This is me. I to aggressively remove some logs, so I fixed it. And this is the missing feature from the Dynamics forms. So the issue being also that if you were to set up Orchard, somehow this module will get activated, loading the C# module, which is not there and failing. So I moved this thing to the validation feature, and also created the validation feature.
I think I messed up with the branches because I know that I created that feature.
Okay, we'll see during merge.
But apparently I messed up putting these 2 new Orchard feature attributes on those 2 classes. I will check.
This is a merge. This is a test for the CLA, and we'll talk about it right now, because the rest is branches and random also a test I asked Sipke to do. So the new thing on the repository is that it's integrated with the CLA robot from the .NET Foundation. What it means is that if you try to create a pull request, for instance, Sipke tried this morning, and because it's a small change, so this robot found the pull request, checked the pull request, and say that for this change, the CLA is not required. CLA meaning consent license agreement. What is that?
Contributor license agreement.
Sorry?
Contributor license agreement.
Contributor license agreement, which is a document you have to sign to say whatever you write is owned now by .NET Foundation, and the .NET Foundation is not liable for the code you are writing. Okay, you as a person are liable. So for this change, for instance, it's so small that you don't need a CLA for that. We don't care. But then
how does it determine when to? How does it know?
A specific number of lines. For instance, when we were under outer curve, we said 50 lines. Otherwise, above that, you have to sign a CLA once. okay, and you signed it for outer curve. So here, for instance, then Thierry pushed this pull request, and you see, if I look at the pull request, the robot said, "Oh, CLA required," and added a comment mentioning Thierry himself. "Thank you, blah blah blah. You have to sign it." Okay, he signed. Okay, so he received an email from his GitHub account saying you need to sign a CLA to be able to approve. And then we know the CLA has been signed or is not required, then we can merge a pull request. Okay. And in this case, it has not been signed yet, CLA required for Sipke. So this is a bigger change. Blah, 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 CLA required. So Sipke, you must have received an email. Do you want to show us how it looks like?
I saw the email sent to Thierry, but I didn't receive such an email myself.
You have.
Then I'll check my junk folder.
Yeah, if you use Gmail, it will be in the forums tab and whatever. If you find it and you want to show us how to sign it, that would be good to let people know. So that's about the changes. Now, did I forget anything? I had taken a screenshot also of what it looks like, but it was also not required, so that's fine. Demo. Let's start with Zoltan because you have too many things, Sipke.
All right. Let me share my screen. If Skype is not freezing. Okay, now, am I a presenter? Because I'm not sure I can present.
You are.
Oh, yeah, I'm enjoying my new status. Okay, let me know when you can see my screen. Until then, here's a link. It's a very small developer-aimed feature, and I'm sure somebody somewhere already did that, but I just couldn't find it. So apparently it's something that that I had to re-implement, and you can see my screen now. So let's explain. In the helpful extensions module, I added a new feature called code generation. And what it does currently is that it generates code for content type migrations. So if you install the module and enable this feature here that I have enabled, then when you go to the content definitions page and select a content type like page, then what you will get is this code generation area here. And if you click on it, you will get some code generated for a migration class that contains everything needed for this particular content type. It's not very well formatted, as you can see, and everything. It's very simple. But what it allows you is to click together a content type dynamically on the admin, and after that you can just generate migration code for it without having to copy paste it somewhere or having to remember everything. So as you can see, this is quite what the page is built up with all the settings, all the parts, and all the part settings. And furthermore, there are also there are the type part settings, and there are also the part settings for the individual parts that are attached to this content type. Of course, you probably wouldn't need all of these, but everything is generated here. Basically, that was it. Just a very small feature. I'm happy that Bertrand likes it.
It's cool. Would it be an idea to have a button instead of the collapsible arrow, so that you press it and then it generates it for you?
Well, it could be. This doesn't take any time. So,
well, not because of that, but because it takes up a lot of space, and then if you maybe show it in a text area, so it's easier to copy and paste.
I actually thought about a text area. This is a pre-formatted text block here, so yeah, okay. Probably a text area would be better.
Or maybe just
not sure about the
download
button.
for the C# file.
Sorry?
The download button for the C#
Oh,
file.
yeah. Then you get a C# file.
Oh, yes, that's a good idea. Complete migration class.
Can you go up? Can you go up
yeah.
at the top of the page?
Yeah.
You could have a tab.
Oh,
you mean
yeah.
it's possible?
Yeah,
So-
we have a new. I'll show it in a minute.
No, not this kind of tab. Like more, or maybe this kind of tab. Yes, we'll see. But as in group, no, don't we have that today? No, we don't have. Yes, we have that. We have the tabs. If you click on content, the kind of tab we have in content page. So you will have a developer tab, and you will have everything there. When you click on the link, a specific controller, maybe, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, but can we do that for content types? I mean, only for a navigation provider, no?
No, we have there's a reusable local navigation shape that you can use, but it's in a separate branch currently.
Oh, all right, I see.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Sipke.
Yes, sir. Present. Let me know when you can see my screen, Benedict.
I can see it. Thanks.
Okay. A little bit of background. For this client, we needed to extend the import-export screen. However, as you probably know, the import service in Orchard, it's not very extensible, except for you can implement custom steps, but it wasn't sufficient. One thing we wanted, for example, was to be able to provide a batch size on the import screen. But if we wanted to implement that, we would have to change the import-export service, with hard codes, the export of data and metadata, and it wasn't very extensible. So what we did instead was refactor that piece so that every step, both import as well as export, is now provider-based, if you will, like custom steps, but taking it one step further, where each custom export step can provide its own little piece of UI, which you see here on this screen. This is how the new export screen looks like, where it has all of the features that you know, but some extra steps. And one new step, for example, is the recipe metadata, which allows you to control the metadata of the recipe, which if you copy the default recipe, for example, in Orchard setup, which looks like this.
And will this field up with default? If you don't select that?
Default is empty. If you leave it empty, it will be empty. So then you will just have actually, I'll show you. If you leave everything empty as is, you hit export, this will be your recipe. So very clean.
That's a clean recipe.
Yeah, it's very fast also. But you can, of course, fill some fields here. Now, if you export this, then you have this data. Also notice that the file name is based on this stuff you provide here, which I think is neat. It includes the name.
I export 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You prefer what?
Export 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, so that sucks. But for you, you just leave it empty, then you'll get the old behavior. And also what's new is you can now turn this into a setup recipe. So if you export that, it will just set that flag here. Recipe is true.
Okay, don't click on every checkbox and generate document. You have 4 demos to do.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll just talk through them quickly.
Not quickly, I'm just saying you don't have to click on export for every property.
Okay. So roles, obviously, that was a custom export step. We changed the API around a little bit so that you can provide UI, such as this recipe metadata provides its own UI. Roles doesn't provide a UI, so it won't expand. But potentially we could extend it where you maybe can select the individual roles you want to export. Dan and I discussed this, whether it would be good. On the one hand, it would be nice because you can do this with content and content definitions. Although content and content definitions, they don't allow you to export individual content items, so it's debatable.
So that's new.
This is new, yeah. So instead of the big list of content types, you now have a bigger list, but with more columns. So you have more control actually over what you want to export. So you can choose to export the content definition of audio, for example, and not the data, and the other way around, where you just want all the blog posts but not the schema, because you know that will be generated by the feature.
Yeah, I'm
or
not sure.
both.
Yeah, that's weird. The both thing is weird.
The both thing, it makes it easier to. This is the default behavior you would, or the old behavior where you select all of the types. So normally you would choose just the types and then specify both schema and data, or just data, or just schema.
Yeah.
And now you have
So
more granular control over what you export.
Really? Because it looks like you're really saving people one click,
Yes.
but adding that huge column just for that. I would get rid of both. I mean, it's just clicking two things.
That was my impression at first. At the same time, I'm like, it doesn't bother me, and it should be a radio, no? Schema or data or both. I don't know.
Yeah, if you had both, it would be a radio, maybe. But I would get rid of both, and you just have to click schema and click data. But
Just these two.
It's either
Yeah,
two checkboxes or three radio.
yeah, if you really want to save people clicks, you need a way to save presets for all that, so that I can reuse an export.
So select the
That's this thing
put
here.
both at first. Select it by default.
No.
Maybe? No.
Wait,
Something should be
wait.
selected by default. No.
I think the best thing would be to remove the both column and just have two checkbox columns.
Okay.
Yeah.
This was I don't know. This was my design initially, but now that I hear you say it, it makes so much sense to remove it. I don't know why. I didn't think of that, but that makes much more sense.
Actually, Gustavo makes a good point that if you want to have both for just certain content types, then it saves you clicks down the road. Because if you want to have both for 6 content types, then that's 6 click saves.
Okay, but then it's not a
Then it's
checkbox;
radio.
it's a
Then it's a
button
radio,
or
yeah.
something.
Oh,
No.
so yeah, not a checkbox, but still have a separate both option.
Hmm.
Maybe a link or a
Radio.
button.
Or radio.
No, not a radio.
What's the
Get rid of
difference?
both.
It can be a radio because you can't. No.
Why?
Because then it will look really weird. Because if you want to
Yeah.
select schema and data on the top to have them all, then the selection will actually move to that third thing. So you click something in a column and you get a result in another. I think that would be really weird. Whereas
agree, that would
agree.
it's what we're trying to make faster here is the action of selecting both.
No,
Right.
you say you
But
click in a column.
selecting both means selecting both of those checkboxes.
I disagree with the statement. You click in a column and it selects the other column. I disagree. You click in the both column, it selects everything in the both column.
No. If you want to do it from the headers, the one that selects for everything.
Yes.
No.
Radio.
Yeah.
It would be very weird to have the top
yeah,
the top
it's-
row be a radio button.
Or then links or buttons if you want. Yeah.
Yeah. Links or buttons for both.
Okay, but
Yeah.
at the top.
No.
So
No.
if you're,
Well,
Maybe
you
we'll
could,
just
you
get
could
rid
have
of the
one at
both
the top
columns.
too. You could have one at the top too. Yeah, sure.
I say get rid of the both.
Yeah, I agree.
Just make it simpler.
It's
It's
like-
easier on the eye also, I think.
Schema and data column. I think that both is irrelevant and partially confusing.
no, don't have time, Sipke.
Do
Sipke,
it
you don't have
now.
time. You have 4 demos. You are still the first one. It's been
Yeah.
15 minutes.
Okay, so it's decided.
I didn't understand what you said about setting presets here. Upload the configuration.
Oh yeah,
files.
so for example, if you do this often where you configure all of these settings and you want to do regular exports, maybe it's a nice idea. It's experimental where you can just choose a configuration file Currently, there's no way to generate it based on the configuration
exactly.
here, because that would make it complete, of course. Right now, you would have to manually craft it, and it looks like this actually.
Oh, and the other thing that I'm a little concerned about, I mean, I love what you've done here, but just trying to find how it can be even better. One thing that I'm wondering about is how this relates to deployments, and is there a way we can unify the UI for those two?
That would be good, yeah. I've yet to look at the deployments feature.
I have an idea. Why don't you look at the design we define on Codeplex about the deployment module? It's explained like this.
Where is that? Do you have a link?
Yep.
Yeah, there is an old forum thread about that. So the way you configure a deployment and the way you configure an export are very, very, very similar. And you could actually reuse an existing deployment. You could have an option in export, for example, that is run this deployment, but getting a file instead of actually deploying it. See what I mean? So you could reuse the settings that you have in this deployment, but as an export. So think about how this relates to deployments in general.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. We'll have a look at that.
Read my post.
That too, yeah.
It's explained there.
He wants channels.
No, I'm not even talking about channels. I'm not even talking about channels. This thing was called sources or provider or something like that. I don't remember. Nothing to do with channels. Channels is another discussion. But
okay.
Yeah, well, we'll check it out. But I don't. Yeah, I'll ask for the URLs to those posts. But yeah, so we talked about that. Settings, of course, can be exported. Features, that's a new thing. We added it early as a custom export step. Guys, are you still there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. With this enhancement, we can now configure to export both enabled as well as disabled features, which in some scenarios may make sense if you want to import this export file into an existing install where you want to have the exact same state.
There is no both checkbox here?
No, I figured we should add it as an experiment here. Content definitions.
That's right.
So, okay. But I'll add the both checkbox later.
It works. And nothing new in the import screen?
And the import screen is newer. It's also now extensible. Basically, the way it works, it consists of actions, import actions. What we see here is one import action. Same for export. It's one big export action. So that is an extensibility point, as well as each individual import step. So this is one import step or
and it
configuration
has a batch size.
Yeah, with a default here. So, yeah, that's basically it for the import screen. You can still choose your recipe file.
Why 64?
Shouldn't you have a batch size on the export side as well?
No.
We had that, and we discussed that.
What do you mean, no?
Let him finish. Sorry, we'll explain.
No worries. So we discussed this, and we thought that it made more sense for it to be specified on the import screen, since during import you want to be able to specify the batch size, not during export per se, because it's not used during export. It's only used during import.
Yeah, it can be used during export because export can be very heavy too, and separating your export file into more sizable batches actually makes sense.
And still have a single files and output, but
no, that's what he's meaning is you will have different files.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, in that case, then, yeah. Mm.
But that brings the question: where do all the other things except data go? Which file? If you break it up,
like a zip file with 50 content items at a time. One for the settings.
Isn't that the case with the deployment module? Where are you using a zip file, Bertrand? That includes media.
Here it's different.
It's NuGet packages actually, but yeah.
No, I mean if you batch the export and you have 200 items, then that would be a number of exported XML files containing a number of items in each file. But where would all the other stuff go, like the features and the recipe metadata and everything? Should
one metadata file and one content and many content item files.
Mm-hmm, okay. Should they be related somehow? That one calls the other, or
and
just completely separate?
Actually, this batch option will just be meaningful in the content items export.
Yes.
Yeah, good point.
And as it is related to the deployment process, the pipeline creating the content and the file will be the same. Like in a NuGet package, you say, oh, I need to add a new file with content, or a new file with assets, or a module DLL, whatever. The export will say, oh, I need a new file with these content items, and so on.
But for export, we should probably call it something other than batch size, because that's not really what it's about.
Yes,
it's about splitting the file up.
That's why it confuses us, because we thought about the batch size for the import. Yes, it's like bundle size or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
I see. But we understand.
Small nitpicking here. We never talk about super user, if I'm not mistaken. We talk about site owner.
Yeah.
So there's code elsewhere in Orchard that uses super user, but I'll change that to site owner then. That's good. So yeah, that's another feature we added, where you are able to completely nuke your site from the import screen using the specified recipe file, which will be used instead of using one of the recipe files on the setup screen. It will use the recipe file that you upload here, which makes sense in some scenarios where you don't want any orphan contents in your database. You just want to start clean. Based on so this scenario actually enables you to do full round tripping, where you export the entire site using this screen and then import it here. So you could bring your site from one environment to another. Even for example, if you have a development environment and you want to rebuild it using the same content as in production, this is a way to do it. And I think, and of course we updated the command support. So all that we see here, it's all supported using commands, and that's where the configuration file come into place as well, where you can configure the configuration for the export, for example, and then use that as an input to the export command. And that's optional. It's still backwards compatible, of course, where you can just say export file, specify a list of types, and whether you want to include metadata, data, etc. So that's, I think, about it for the import-export.
Good. Next demo.
Next demo. I have to switch branches, tabs.
So, are you guys good to merge this into dev?
If it works, yes. It looks good to me.
Cool.
Is there anything breaking?
Yeah, we changed some interfaces, like the import-export service itself. It's still it's backward compatible with iCustom export steps. So all those things that you typically implement from your own modules, that still works as before. But the import-export service itself has changed. So if modules implement that interface, they break. But our expectation is that no one implements that one.
Did you try to merge that with the deployment branch?
No, but I will. Because yeah, I
thought the deployment branch was in one in dev.
No, not yet. We voted that we wanted to do that, but nobody has actually done it.
But,
will you do it, or do you want?
Well, if you want to do it, please, by all means. I don't know when I would have time to.
Then maybe it makes sense that we do it so that we can then also merge dev.
Exactly. Yeah.
Recipe
if
steps
you don't
and then
mind,
recipe steps
that would be great.
Not at all.
Cool.
Gives me a chance to look at the code. So.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, that's here, that's built. Well, this builds what we've been talking about this for a while now, where you have content editor UI, but with tabs, because sometimes the editor UI gets really big with all of these fields, and we said, wouldn't it be nice if we could group them into tabs? And Sébastien started working on that, I don't know when, but a while ago. But he never finished it, and I finished it over the weekend.
Philippe Sénéchal started to work on that. I took his work, actually.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, I don't know why it was not finished.
The placement syntax was there, and the parsing of it, right?
Yeah, that was all there. Unit tests were there.
I did add something based on his work, but it was mainly from Philippe's work.
Mm-hmm. And now it's there. Now you can actually use that syntax and group your shapes into tabs. This looks like, well, currently it doesn't look like anything, or it looks like it the way it was before. But I'll show you how
nice demo.
It's very
that was a nice demo.
So, for example, take this layout shape. What if we wanted to group that into its own tab? So we would go to the layouts module here, update the placement info file, and for this shape, this parts layout edit shape, we would say put this into the layout tab. And now when you refresh, it's clean up. So now you have just the content and layout in a separate tab. And of course, this works for your own modules. Oh yeah, and that's the second part of this thing. This work, these tabs, these are like client-side tabs, as you can see. It's all there. It's reusable. It's a reusable shape, which could be used from your own views if you wanted to. It's just here in the Orchard core shapes, admin tabs that's used, and then there's local navigation. So you would use this local navigation shape. For example, the contents module uses it in its content edit shape view. And all I'm doing here is just rendering the local navigation shape and provide a list of tabs, which could either be an enumerable of strings, or it could be a list of shapes where it expects a tab text and something else.
We need to figure out a way how to place some things below the tabs, because now it looks like the save and publish buttons are duplicated on every tab, but really they're the same.
I wanted to mention that there are different zones in the editor shape, and that still makes sense. I think it's still good to have this. A way to be able to place things in tabs, and tabs agnostics are like always visible. So and I think, don't you like the fact that the save and publish button are available everywhere in this case?
Yeah, they should be available everywhere, but it looks like they are part of this tab, and when you click this one, it looks like
I see. So maybe a different, a separation somehow, and yeah.
I looked at it, but it's tricky because this thing, it's way in one of the higher parent shapes, so it's hard to separate it, but not impossible, of course. Oh yeah, and I had a question. Dan and I have been talking about the colors of this layout editor, and personally, we both think it would be better if we got rid of this big gray color.
Honestly, we don't care if you both think whatever you think. We decide.
Exactly, that's why I'm asking, because we care about what you think as well.
I want it pink. Fuck you.
We can do pink. We can remove the color, and that's related to that question. Do you think it would be good to move the layout editor into its own tab so that it cleans up this thing here, and when you want to edit, you have more screen real estate this way?
Fuck you was his last word. Oh, there he is.
I like white.
Yeah, white.
I like all the colors of the world, but in this case, I prefer white.
Mm-hmm.
I think putting layout on a separate tab makes it too much work to get to it, because most of the time when we're editing stuff, we can make it configurable, but most of the time I'm not going to change the URL, I'm going to change the content. So
we need to think about what we want to put into tabs, and sometimes, no, everything is good on the first tab, and we don't want to move anything in another tab.
Well, the only thing I would have to say about the layout would be, is it possible to have multiple layouts on one form?
Multiple layouts on what?
On one page or one content, because the fact
Currently, no, this is a layout part, and you can only have one part per type.
Okay.
I have a silly question about this. This has been tried before. Why did it fail before, and why does that succeed?
What do you mean?
What has been
tried and failed?
Tabs.
What do you mean?
Has it been tried before?
Yeah. We had a demo on this meeting, I don't know, 1-2 years ago, for a very similar feature.
Yeah. But didn't we say that we like it, but it was never completed?
I think there is code for that somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know where it is.
The code.
You don't remember it?
No.
I remember the demo. I don't remember.
I don't remember the demo. Crap. We should watch the videos. I hopefully we record these videos.
But yeah, I mean the design looks very simple. It's just placement, right?
We need to ask our librarian. Benedek, can you find some time when we did this demo and send us a link?
So can you show the placement? The placements file that drives that?
The placement was already written, and this is what I said. This is what I did based on Philip's work.
Sorry, what was that, Sébastien?
Syntax.
Yes. Okay, that rings a bell. Okay.
So this was done,
layout.
But I remember I said we need to finish the view to render that, and this is all we needed to do. And Sipke this weekend said, okay, let's do that. Boom. Okay. Go.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay, so the code was there actually. Okay.
Yeah, it was just not provided to the views. So
this is why Sipke said he didn't know why it was not finished.
Interesting. Yeah.
Someone's too lazy in the team.
Very cool. That will simplify so many things.
But again, if we agree on what we put in different tabs. If it's your module, you do whatever you want. But if it's a core feature, as Rob said, maybe we don't want the layout on the right, or George said that, and the layout is good in the first tab, so we should be careful when we move things in tabs.
Maybe it's things like the other stuff that are now on the content tab that should go on a.
Yeah, for example, created on owner. I really couldn't care less about those.
I agree.
To maybe do meta or something.
So in Drupal, they have something they call advanced. It's not a tab, it's just a section called advanced, and you can expand it and see advanced stuff. So here for us, it will be a tab.
So vague.
Yeah, but we could have. We can think about. Now we have it, we can think about what do we put on other tabs and what should the tabs be. These things, the show on a menu, created on, owner, I don't know. This is not the kind of thing you change all the time, and you don't want.
True.
Yeah,
those should be moved to advanced or meta or something like that.
Or properties. Maybe you have a content and a properties tab for most things.
In Azure, they call it properties, settings.
Anyway, that's this demo.
Sorry.
So last topic. Sorry.
Benedek also.
No, sorry, it's just a remark. So from a user experience perspective, I think it should be made clear that these are loaded asynchronously. So these don't work in the same way as the content page.
It's not asynchronously. It's one content page, synchronous content page, everything on one page. The validation will kick in. And this is one of the issues. If there is a validation error in one of the tabs, you will see the notification at the top. Good luck finding which tab gets so we have to work on that. But there is a way to that.
Yeah, that one too. But what I'm saying is that the user doesn't know if someone starts using this feature. You don't know if the page will reload, so you need to save your data before moving to another tab. So there should be some indication about that.
That you don't need to save the page. That's okay, you agree? Do you get it? You don't need to save the page.
Yes, in this case, you don't need to save the page before moving to another tab. That's right.
Yep. Third demo.
Coming up.
What?
If Studio responds.
And this one will need testing before being merged.
Yes. Yeah, this is this change homepage alias. Currently, what's the case when you change a homepage to be a content item to be the homepage? What happens is that the alias is changed into a slash, or actually it's stored as an empty string, and that indicates it's the homepage. So that works obviously because we've been working with that for not a few years, maybe, I don't know, a long time. And but there's a bug when you import a recipe that also contains a content item with an empty alias that is not the current homepage, or even if it's the current homepage, it just duplicates the content item because it uses the alias as the identifier as well. And this change that I'm about to show
tomorrow,
sometime today or tomorrow, I'll start a new Fish Studio. Changes the way
so maybe we don't need a demo. Maybe we don't need a demo because this is the same UI. Okay, everyone knows, but we can just explain how it works.
The UI is, I wanted to show the alias UI screen so that you can visually see.
Shortcut it. So the idea is that now there is a new property which is Sipke made called promote to homepage. It's a property on the AutoroutePart. And so when you check the set as homepage and you save, it will save this property and create an alias for the slash, or update the slash alias to your content items URL. So the content item will have the full slug, okay, like you will type it, but it will have also another alias for the slash. So when you go to the homepage, it will go to the same content item as the content item's full slug. We don't have just one alias now for that. And this way, when you import the slash alias, it will update the slash alias, and you won't lose or update any other content item slug. That's the idea. So Sipke did that, and I assume he tested it, and it works. We still need to test all the bugs which are related to setting homepage in terms of security and in terms of publishing and delayed publishing.
Localization. You're going to need to test localization as well, because that does something funny with the homepage.
I'm not even sure. Yeah, and also for the alias table, which I don't know if we support in every ways the fact that we can have two aliases to the same content item.
It works. Well, this
that's why we testing.
It works. It's actually, this implementation simplifies it in so many ways, because now you just have an alias pointing to, or two aliases pointing to the same content item, and you just update the path of this one homepage alias, this home alias as it's called. But it also fixes another issue. Originally, if you changed, for example, you went to the editor of a content item and you checked that checkbox, set this item as a homepage, and you just hit save, it obviously wouldn't make it the homepage. But you made a change, but it's not persisted, which is weird. Now you can just check that checkbox, save it as a draft, and it will retain that setting. And then the next time, as soon as you publish it, it will become the homepage.
And for instance, there was a bug also, and we need to ensure it still works, that you could in some ways define an empty slug to a content item, and it will override the homepage. So we need to ensure that you can't edit with an empty slug somehow. It was a bug that Stanley had found last year, and we had very hard time to reproduce, and we found it like 6 months after how to repro. So we should look at over all the bugs we created for the homepage and see we didn't regress in any way. Because that's very impactful change. But that's a good change, I think.
Yeah. So should we test that first in that before merging back into dev?
Oh yes, and what scares me is that it's so obvious that there must be a reason why it was implemented with the empty slug instead of the checkbox I'm the home page to create the alias.
So we're not using the empty thing anymore at all, right?
No.
Right. Okay. That's a bit of a breaking change then.
And I don't think if you remember the code also, it was the management of the homepage. It was separated into the driver and then the handler.
Yeah.
It was crazy code to understand and not to break anything. So whenever I saw someone trying to fix something in a homepage, I was like, no, don't fix anything because you'll break 2 more things.
Yeah, it's just that I know that a lot of people use that empty string to get the homepage.
Yeah, there's now an iHome alias service to get the homepage on the AutoRoute module.
So this is going into dev, right?
Yes,
yeah,
definitely.
Right. Okay. So we just.
And
are we going to need?
I branched this off 19x, but yeah, we'll merge it back into dev then.
One other thing is, I think we need to include this in the upgrade module.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. So we need to say that anything that's got an empty string as the, anything where it's the empty string, it needs to now have
a migration can migration do that. Here.
Yeah.
Load all the items with an empty alias and then regenerate the slug or alias.
You can generate the slug if you want, yes, and you can also actually define the property or homepage or create the alias for the homepage for that. And it's just one content item. There is always one content item with the homepage and maybe some draft, which are later becoming the homepage, but that's safe as a migration.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, cool.
That's it for me.
Good, thanks. So some more topics. Quickly, CLI is done. The Specflow are broken. And I don't know why. I can't understand the message on the CI. And locally, it doesn't work for me. I tried to go back to master even, and it doesn't work. So maybe it's .NET Framework 4.6 or Visual Studio 2015. If you guys can test just one Specflow test or run the Specflow test from the command line, it's build spec, and it will run the Specflow test from the command line just to tell me if it works for you on an old branch, on Visual Studio, on whatever. I see some messages. Another also update on Harvest. It's going on between Zoltan, Sergio, and myself. So it's still at the same hotel, but we will push the date to October 5 and 6 because it was already taken. The nice room was taken from the 28 and 29, and we have all the money we need. So that's good. Confirmation. So the room now the dates are confirmed, and the hotel also I think will ship the website very quickly. Zoltan,
I'm working on it actually.
See, so it will be fast.
Deployed.
Anything in the chat I missed? And if you want, I can demo modified skin for the admin area of Orchard. Yes, Paul, can you do it next week? Your demo? Feel free to remind us, to ping us when we start the meeting, when I ask for demos to let us know. And Jasmin will be also maybe to... Well, let's do an admin theme fight between Jasmin, Antoine, Philippe, and Paul. Because that's very productive. Okay, good.
One thing, Sébastien, I've heard it said, I think 3 times during this meeting, that it's been called out explicitly that we should test something before merging it back to dev. But I think that should always be the case for anything that goes into dev. It should be tested first.
We agreed when we defined how dev and 19x works.
Yeah.
And some of them are more important than the other. Or need more tests than the other. For the homepage, for instance, we need more validations. And feel free to say, no, I don't want that to be pulled because we need more testers. Even more if you made the feature. Because otherwise it's on you and people will blame you.
Especially now that we're personally liable for everything that we commit.
You see? And so if you have a feature and you want, so when we do it in Microsoft, we do code flows when before merging some code, we need approval from some team members, okay? And we explicitly point them. I need approval from you. So if it fails, it's also on you. And we could do the same thing for merging to dev. You could say, hey, Sébastien, I won't merge that until you have said, yes, it works for me. And, and then you can blame me, saying, oh, it's not in dev because Sébastien doesn't do his work. So, and let's use Nick because.
Well, what does it mean to be liable for the Orchard source code anyway? If they use it in a nuclear power plant somewhere and it like causes a meltdown?
Well, the same thing for our code in Microsoft, even for the open source thing. It's just not liable, but
we
have someone to blame and to fire. Yeah, that's fine.
I meant in terms of the CLA that we're signing.
Oh, the CLA meaning. Oh, yes, if you copy-pasted some open source code.
From a licensing perspective. Yes. Okay, right. Mm-hmm. But not for the quality or the function or anything like. Okay.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Have you seen Orchard code?
Sipke, yeah, I have. That's what scared me.
And you're fixing code comments also, so that's the level.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I could get fired, yes, if I was copy-pasting some open source code into Orchard. Don't worry. Or including a big security issue.
If you could be fired, you would have been fired a long time ago. I think you must have some kind of diplomatic immunity thing in French.
Okay. I'll note that on my OneNote what you said. Okay. Okay, thanks everyone. See you on Thursday.
See you.
Bye.
Bye everyone.
Bye.